2, you have 4 types of factoring that you have to be responsible for. Some of them are 2 terms, so please write 2 terms up here at the top. And guys, make your first page of notes just like mine. Just let it take up the full front. So there's 2 instances of 2 terms. Then we're going to talk about 3 terms. And then you guys are going to factor 4 terms. So these are our different categories. 2 terms, 2 terms, 3 terms, and 4 terms. For your 2 terms, one of the categories is this, and y'all know this. This is a difference of squares. And remember, you have to have a minus sign in the middle. It has to be a minus. And y'all know this. When you factor it, the signs are opposite. One of them has a positive, one of them has a negative. But from now on, you have to ask yourself this question: can I factor again? Because sometimes you can keep going starting today. However, the last thing I want to point out about a difference of 2 squares, when it looks like this, you can never, ever, ever factor that. That's called prime. So write prime next to your little example where you wrote a plus sign. Also, if you do have a highlighter, this question is pretty important. Can I factor again? If you don't factor again on some stuff, you won't get full credit because you can keep going now. All right, for the 2 terms right here, you have a difference of squares. Your other scenario are cubes. And remember, the thing about cubes, it could be a plus or a minus in the middle. Either one you're going to be able to factor. And remember that little saying, for some reason, stare more. And don't forget that if you just follow those steps, that'll take you from the beginning of factoring all the way to the end. And then the next thing that we're going to talk about are 3 terms. Y'all know this. Remember 3 terms, when A is greater than 1, you dance, slide, and divide. And also, you're going to start seeing stuff like this. Notice that exponent is really high. That exponent is a 4. So when you see stuff like this and you factor it, you got to ask yourself the same question. Can I factor again? And I'm just going to highlight that because that's pretty important. All right, so the last category that you're going to have to do is when you have 4 terms. And y'all already know this, honestly. So for 4 terms, this is factoring by grouping. And remember, when you factor by grouping, it's in pairs. You turn it into a GCF problem, and you know you are on the right track when you have matching binomials. One more time, guys. You're going to have to ask yourself in this scenario also, can I factor again? So, if you notice, let me kind of zoom out a little bit here. That's all of our scenarios right there. But what you do need to recognize is where it had the cubes, guys, I did not write the question of can I factor again. Once you do a sum or a difference of 2 perfect cubes, you won't have to factor again. It's always going to be prime. So that's what your cover page should look like. Make sure you don't lose that. You're going to need that for your sketch notes also. All right, guys. So let's go ahead and jump in and just review. So if you see this right here, this is your first case, a difference of 2 terms. And y'all, these are not notes. This is a speed test. You should know how to factor this. Y'all should already know the factors once you read the problems. So remember, when it's a difference of 2 squares, one of them's a positive and one of them's a negative. X minus 5, x plus 5, x minus 9, x plus 9. Not a big deal. That's low-level algebra 1 factoring. Here's your level, so we're going to increase it a little bit. So guys, if you notice, the exponents are 4s now. So it's still a difference of 2 squares. We're just leveling up a little bit. So the first one where it says x to the 4th minus 81, there's a few things we need to talk about. First of all, your exponent, your highest exponent has to be even. And the highest exponent actually is the degree of the polynomial. So if you look at this, this has a degree of 4. So the exponent must be even, and remember, I'm talking about the degree. Also, your highest degree must be even. So it could have been a 4, 6, 8. I still could have factored it. It cannot be odd though. And then guys, here's where you got to start asking yourself, can I factor again? All right, here we go. So you really kind of factor it the same way. We're just going to split up those x's evenly. That's why it has to be even. That has to be cut in half evenly, which is 2. So put 2 of your x's in one parenthesis and put 2 of your x's in the other. And the rest is the same. It's still a minus 9 and a plus 9. But now you got to keep going because that's not done. That's a difference of 2 squares. So this is going to turn into an x minus 3, an x plus 3 for that one. But remember, guys, if it has a plus sign, it's prime, so you just recopy it. Also remember, whatever the degree is 4. Whatever the degree is, you have to have that many x's in your answer. So the degree is 4. So I've got 1x here, 1x here. There's 2 x's there. Everything's good. That is completely factored. We're going to box that in. Okay. So for problem number 4, it looks like there might be a GCF. Always check for a GCF if you have a number in front of the x. And 3 does go in both of them, y'all. 3 is a GCF. So that's going to be x to the 4th, and then 48 divided by 3. Do y'all know that? Impressive. So there you go. That's a difference of 2 squares. 4 times 4 makes a 16. We got to keep going. Recopy your GCF. Remember the GCF's in front of the parentheses. Split up your x's. And then again, guys, that's a difference of 2 squares. So you have to keep going. So let's recopy the 3. But remember, that gets broken up to a x plus 2 and an x minus 2. And remember, since that has a plus sign, that's already in factored form, so you just recopy it. A difference of 2 cubes or a sum of 2 cubes. And y'all should remember this silly little saying, for some reason, stare more. So our first example is 3x to the 3rd plus 81. So you got a number out in front. You need to see if there's a GCF. And y'all, 3 does go into 81. So we're going to factor out a 3 again. All right. So put that on the outside. That's going to be x to the 3rd. And y'all, 81 divided by 3. Yeah, good job. 27. All right, so we just did the first step. The second step is to sign it. So rewrite your 3 out in front. And remember, when you have your parentheses, remember you got to draw space enough for 2 terms. And then your other one, you got to fit 3 things in there. So leave a larger space. And remember to sign it, you grab the sign from the previous line of your work. So we're going to put a plus here. Remember, this one's always opposite, and this one's always positive. So that's it. We signed it. The next step, that R stands for cube rooting. Guys, cube root that stuff and just put it here. The cube root of x to the 3rd is just x. The cube root of 27 is 3. 3 times 3 times 3.
So that's your root. And then remember, guys, you got to square these and then put them here. So square those and then put them at the ends. X squared, 3 squared. Do y'all remember what goes in the middle? Yeah, you just multiply them and put it there. And the good news is you don't have to check to see if you can keep going. Once you factor out a GCF and have completed these steps, it is completely factored. So listen, if you look at number 6, it almost looks like it's a difference of 2 squares because that's an even exponent. You guys cannot put it into any of these categories until you GCF, until you take out the greatest common factor. Did y'all see it? What is it? 2 what? 2x. That's right. So this time write a 2x on the outside and make sure you divide right. So 2x to the 4th divided by 2x is going to leave x to the 3rd. And then a negative 16x divided by a positive 2x is just an 8. Y'all, that's now a perfect cube. It's a difference of perfect cubes. 2 times 2 times 2 makes 8. So recopy your GCF on the outside. Draw some space for a binomial, then draw some space for a trinomial. All right, let's do it. This is going to be a minus, opposite, always positive. The cube root of x to the 3rd is a x. Cube root of 8 is a 2. Now we're going to square that stuff. And then don't forget your middle piece where you just multiply them together.